So I'm starting with the mask that I want to spray paint. This is a grills mask. First thing we need to do is remove it, kind of dismantle it. We want to take the lens out, the foam out, the strap off. We only want to have the stuff that's left that we really just want to spray paint. So let's do that first. So here we're just taking out the straps. Set those down. All right, now each mask you paint is going to be a little different, but I'm going to go over some things that I'm going to do when I look at this mask and things to consider. One is when I paint on the primer and stuff, it's probably not going to stick well to this very flexible silicone stuff. So I'm not looking at coloring this. What I am looking at doing is coloring this part right here. This is that plastic. Now, one thing you need to do with a mask, whether it's a new mask you just bought popping out of the box, or whether it's one you've played with, is you definitely need to clean it. One, to clean out any, let's say, old paint or residue in there. The other thing is when these are made, these are in a mold, and so they have a mold release agent to pop these out. The downside is when paint gets on that, it doesn't adhere to it. So you need to clean this off, get rid of that release agent off it. And also what you want to do with this is you want to rough it up just a little bit. And we're not going to do like a really coarse sandpaper. I'm going to do just like a Scotch-Brite pad, clean this up, rough it up, because sometimes you can get oils and things in these kind of divots in here in the texture, and you want to get that out. So one thing when it comes to this is I'm not going to cover this up. I don't care to have the aluminum look to it, so I'm just going to paint right over that. I'm not worried about that. However, I am a little worried about this. This is the foam locking mechanism in here. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that the primer doesn't get in here and make it more difficult to remove the foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of painter's tape right there, because when I put this lens piece back in, it'll cover that spot. So I am not worried about having that be taped up. The other thing I noticed is on this mask is I get these little pieces right here where kind of the rubber and the plastic are not touching. I don't know, you can barely see it right there. So right there. I also have it on the other side as well. So I'm going to take my X-Acto blade, cut that off. So, but those are some of the things that I'm looking at considering. The other part is when I'm doing the taping, because again, I'm just painting the plastic here, is I'm going to tape straight up here. I thought about doing some taping up in here, but it's such a smooth transition. And because of this texture kind of on this eyebrow piece, I'd really like to have that with the color shift, because I think that would look really good. And I'm willing to take the risk just to see if the primer will adhere to that and see how that goes. So I'm going to experiment. So right now, the next step, washing. It's just basic dish soap. To speed up the process, I'm going to dry it. Now, one thing when you do dry this, make sure you use a lint-free towel. Again, if you get those little particles of fabric, things like that, that will affect the cohesion. So I do not want any of that. Some places I will not be able to get with the towel, so those will just have to air dry. But this can speed up some of that process. So one thing I learned with taping this is, one, some tape works better than others. The other part is you want to cover the mask with the tape first before you start doing the cutting. I started doing a piece and then cutting, piece, cutting. And unfortunately, because of the silicone, this tape really wouldn't stick to it. So I almost had to make a whole kind of like lower portion of this mask almost made out of kind of painter's tape that looks like a mummy. But anyway, this provides more kind of interlocking support, so that when I cut it, it'll come off a lot easier. All right, so we're gonna do nice sprays, even coats. So this is the 5th coat. All right, so here's the finished product, and I'm pretty happy with it. I got a nice kind of copper to green fade. I'm really happy with how it looks. There's some nice curves with this mask, so you give a really nice tone range in here, which looks really, really good. So the next step will be taking it out to the paint field and see how well the paint sticks to it after taking a couple hits. So anyway, I hope this inspired you guys. I hope you guys get a chance to kind of paint your own mask and get an opportunity to do something like that. If you do, please post the pictures, share them. Kind of nice when everyone kind of personalizes their own gear, makes it look good. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching, and when in doubt, keep shooting.